Returning to the United States after years in France was both a homecoming and a plunge into the unknown. The scent of familiarity mixed with the anxiety of what awaited me at my son Connor's doorstep. Health issues had driven me back to the land I had left behind, seeking refuge with my only son and his wife, Emily. Little did I suspect that the warmth of family would be replaced by an icy reception that chilled me to the bone. The journey from the airport to their house was filled with a gnawing uncertainty. The memories of raising Connor flooded my mind, a single mother navigating the challenges that life threw our way. My arrival was meant to be a reunion, a chance to reconnect after the years spent apart. However, as I stepped through the threshold, the air was heavy with unspoken tension. The first signs of trouble surfaced in the strained politeness that masked a deeper resentment. Connor and Emily, though offering a semblance of hospitality, seemed burdened by an invisible weight. The once familiar walls echoed with a sense of unease, and the glances exchanged spoke volumes. It wasn't long before I realized that my presence, rather than being a source of comfort, had become an unwelcome intrusion. The subtle signs were hard to ignore, their strained smiles, the forced small talk that failed to mask the underlying discontent. What had I expected? A warm embrace, perhaps, and the familiar comfort of home. Instead, I found myself navigating a minefield of unspoken troubles, a far cry from the imagined reunion with my son and his wife. As the days unfolded, the troubles within the household became more apparent. My savings, meant to provide a safety net in times of need, began to disappear faster than I could comprehend. The financial strain seemed to be reaching a breaking point, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was an unwitting pawn in a game I never agreed to play. Family, a concept that had once represented a sanctuary, now felt like a battleground. The realization struck me like a sudden storm. I was caught in the crossfire of my son's troubles and the strained dynamics of a marriage that seemed on the brink of collapse. The house that was meant to be a refuge had become a battlefield of unspoken tensions, and I found myself wondering if I had made a grave mistake by seeking solace within these walls. The initial joy of the homecoming was overshadowed by the looming shadows of family troubles, leaving me to navigate a precarious path between the past and an uncertain future. Little did I know that the storm gathering on the horizon would soon unleash its full force, reshaping the narrative of my life in ways I could never have anticipated. The days in Connor and Emily's home unfolded like a slow-burning tragedy. The whispers of financial strain grew louder, creating an ominous backdrop to the facade of familial normalcy. My son, Connor, harbored a secret that threatened to dismantle the fragile structure of our relationship. As I settled into their home, I couldn't escape the feeling that my presence was a burden, a weight that strained their already fragile financial situation. Connor's obsession with gambling had spiraled into a bottomless pit of debt, and my meager savings had become a temporary respite in his relentless pursuit of financial redemption. The unspoken tension hung in the air like a thick fog. I overheard hushed conversations behind closed doors, discussions that sent shivers down my spine. My attempts to contribute what little I had left were met with a resistance that mirrored the strain in our relationship. The money, meant to be a lifeline, became a source of contention, a symbol of the gaping hole that Connor's addiction had torn in the fabric of our family. In the cold, quiet corners of the house, I confronted the harsh reality. I was a pawn in a game of financial survival, a game I hadn't signed up to play. The once joyful prospect of family time was replaced by the stark realization that Connor's financial problems were threatening not only his well-being, but also the stability of the household I had sought refuge in. I grappled with conflicting emotions, compassion for my son's struggles, frustration at the choices that led us to this point, and a growing sense of helplessness as I witnessed the unraveling of the financial tapestry that should have kept us secure. The desperate attempts to salvage a sinking ship only deepened the chasm between us. As the days turned into weeks, the financial woes became the elephant in the room that no one dared to address directly. Connor's eyes betrayed a hint of desperation, masked by a facade of false bravado. My attempts to offer a financial lifeline were met with reluctance and a stubborn pride that refused to acknowledge the magnitude of the problem. The realization hit me like a wave. I was not only witnessing my son's descent into financial ruin, but also experiencing the collateral damage of his addiction. The once sturdy bridge between mother and son strained under the weight of unpaid debts and the looming specter of financial ruin. I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, torn between a mother's unconditional love and the stark reality that my attempts to help were, perhaps, futile in the face of an addiction that held my son captive. The financial problems that had once simmered beneath the surface now demanded my attention, threatening to drown the remnants of familial harmony in a sea of debt and desperation. Little did I know that this chapter of financial turmoil was merely a prelude to a more profound and devastating revelation that awaited me in the shadows of our fractured home. The echoes of strained conversations and financial woes formed a dissonant symphony in the house that was meant to be a haven. The once familiar walls seemed to close in, enveloping me in a cocoon of loneliness. It was within these cold corridors that I stumbled upon a truth more painful than the financial troubles that plagued us. Late one evening, as I meandered through the silent halls, I overheard hushed whispers that cut through the air like a knife. Connor and Emily, my son and his wife, were harboring a secret that resonated with the haunting melody of betrayal. Their affair, concealed behind closed doors and masked by strained smiles, sent shockwaves through my already fragile sense of belonging. The realization struck me like a thunderbolt. My return, driven by health concerns and the desire for familial comfort, had unwittingly become the backdrop for a deception that I never saw coming. Loneliness took root in my heart, and I grappled with the ache of being an outsider in a house that was supposed to be filled with the warmth of family. I navigated the pretense of normalcy during family gatherings, concealing the heartache that had become my constant companion. As Connor and Emily exchanged pleasantries, their smiles felt like daggers, cutting through the facade of unity. My attempts to bridge the growing distance were met with a hollow politeness, and I found myself questioning the authenticity of the love that had once bound us together. The long hours, spent alone in the guest room, became a silent battleground against the overwhelming sense of betrayal. I retreated into solitude, allowing the weight of my emotions to settle in the stillness of the night. The cold truth seeped into my consciousness. I was an unintended witness to a clandestine affair that had eroded the foundations of trust. The ache of loneliness was exacerbated by the knowledge that Connor and Emily, the pillars of my supposed refuge, had been engaged in a dance of deception. As I grappled with the isolation, I couldn't help but wonder how my return had become a catalyst for the unraveling of their marital bonds. The days turned into a monotonous routine, each passing moment punctuated by the silent burden of their secret. The realization that my presence had inadvertently exposed their infidelity weighed heavily on my conscience. I became the keeper of a truth I wished I never knew, a truth that transformed the once joyful prospect of family into a labyrinth of lies. The deception became a constant companion, a silent whisper that echoed through the hallways and mocked the remnants of familial trust. In my solitude, I contemplated whether to confront them, to expose the betrayal that festered within the walls of their home. But the fear of further alienation and the dread of shattering the illusion of family unity kept me silent, condemned to bear the burden of their secrets in lonely silence. As the shadows of deception loomed over our fractured home, I faced the stark reality that my presence, intended to bring solace, had become the unwitting catalyst for a familial tragedy that unfolded in the hushed whispers of clandestine affairs and the lonely echoes of a betrayed heart. Little did I know that the storm brewing within the walls of our home was far from reaching its tempestuous peak. The decision to extend an olive branch in the form of a tortoiseshell bag and a check for $1 million was born out of a desperate attempt to mend the fractures that had deepened within our fractured family. Little did I anticipate that my gesture of generosity would become the catalyst for an explosive confrontation, unraveling not just financial struggles, but also exposing wounds of betrayal that cut to the core. As I carefully crafted the tortoise-shell bag, my hands trembled with a mix of hope and apprehension. The bag was meant to be a symbol of gratitude, a token to bridge the growing chasm between us. The check, nestled within the bag, was a humble attempt to alleviate the financial burdens that had strained Connor and Emily's household. The moment arrived when I presented the gift, a moment pregnant with expectations of reconciliation. However, the atmosphere in the room shifted palpably when Connor's eyes fell upon the check. What was intended to be a gesture of love and reconciliation metamorphosed into a battleground of accusations and resentments. Connor's face tightened as he scrutinized the check, his eyes betraying a mix of disappointment and frustration. The hope that the money would bring relief quickly dissolved into an uncomfortable silence. The generosity that I had hoped would mend the wounds of financial strain instead laid bare the stark reality. My savings were a mere drop in the ocean of debt that threatened to drown them. "What is this, Mom? Is this all you have saved?" Connor's voice, tinged with disappointment, resonated through the room. The weight of his financial burdens had eclipsed any gratitude he might have felt for my gesture. The ensuing conversation spiraled into an interrogation of my financial worth. Connor's relentless questioning and probing exposed the gaping hole in his understanding of the complexities of life. The check, intended as a lifeline, became a point of contention, a stark reminder of the inadequacy of my offerings in the face of his insurmountable debt. As the confrontation unfolded, I found myself entangled in a web of accusations. The generosity that I had hoped would mend the rift in our relationship became a bitter reminder of the inadequacies I could not alleviate. The tortoise-shell bag, crafted with love, transformed into a symbol of misplaced expectations, unraveling the threads that held our family together. The revelation that my savings were insufficient, coupled with Connor's mounting frustrations, fueled the flames of an already precarious situation. The confrontation spilled beyond the confines of financial discussions, delving into the deeper wounds of our familial bonds. Resentments, once veiled, emerged into the open, laying bare the cracks that had festered beneath the surface. The generous gesture, intended as a bridge to reconciliation, had inadvertently become a mirror reflecting the stark realities of our familial disintegration. I retreated to the solitude of my room, grappling with a sense of futility and the realization that my attempts at generosity had only added fuel to the fire of our familial strife. As I lay in bed, the weight of loneliness and sorrow pressed upon me. The tortoiseshell bag, now a symbol of unmet expectations, lay abandoned on the table. Little did I know that this was just the beginning, a prelude to a tumultuous unraveling that would shake the foundations of our family and redefine the contours of my own journey through the tempest of familial troubles. The aftermath of the confrontation hung in the air like a heavy fog, suffocating any remnants of familial warmth that might have endured. The rift between Connor and me widened, fueled by financial woes, accusations, and the bitter taste of unmet expectations. Little did I foresee that this tumultuous chapter in our lives was hurtling towards an unexpected denouement. Days turned into weeks, and the house that had once been a sanctuary became a battleground of silent glares and unspoken animosities. The tension in the air was palpable, a constant reminder of the fractures that marred our family bonds. It was during these days of strained coexistence that the unexpected unfolded with a force that would reshape the narrative of our lives. One evening, as the shadows lengthened in the fading light, a knock echoed through the house. I opened the door to find 2 police officers standing on the threshold, a sight I had never anticipated in the confines of our home. The unexpected denouement had arrived, veiled in the form of law enforcement and the consequences of our tumultuous familial strife. The police officers, with a solemnity that mirrored the gravity of the situation, explained that Connor's financial troubles and escalating tensions had reached a point where legal intervention became necessary. It was a stark reminder that our familial struggles had spilled beyond the realm of emotional turmoil, manifesting as a legal entanglement that none of us had foreseen. As the officers escorted me away from the house, I cast a lingering glance at the place that had been both refuge and battleground. The unexpected denouement had severed the tenuous threads that held us together, leaving behind a fractured family in its wake. The reality of the situation settled in, a stark acknowledgement that our familial strife had transcended the boundaries of personal struggles and cascaded into the realm of legal consequences. In the subsequent days, the legal proceedings unfolded, exposing the extent of Connor's financial troubles and the tumultuous dynamics that had characterized our home. The unexpected denouement became a mirror, reflecting the consequences of unaddressed issues, fractured relationships, and the harsh realities of familial strife. Amidst the legal tumult, I sought solace in the support of old friends and neighbors who had once been a cherished part of our lives. Their compassion became a lifeline in the storm, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. As the legal proceedings reached their conclusion, the unexpected denouement became a turning point, forcing all of us to confront the consequences of our actions and the irreversible changes that had befallen our family. In the wake of legal intervention, the once close bonds of family lay shattered, and the house that had held our collective memories stood as a silent witness to the tumultuous unraveling of our lives. The unexpected denouement, though painful, became a crucible of transformation, prompting me to reevaluate the meaning of family, resilience, and the unforeseen turns that life could take. As the sun set on that tumultuous chapter, I found myself standing at the crossroads of uncertainty, contemplating the path that lay ahead. The unexpected denouement had sculpted the contours of my journey, leaving me with a newfound resilience and a profound understanding of the fragility of familial bonds. Little did I know that the echoes of this chapter would reverberate through the corridors of my life, shaping the narrative of resilience and self-discovery that awaited me in the uncharted territories beyond familial strife.